Hello and welcome to Healthy Savvy Life and the weekly wrap and Q&A session. It's Corey Sievers here, and it's my pleasure to host this particular session. And what our Healthy Savvy Life sessions are really about bite-sized, bite-sized chunks of information throughout the week to really help you reach that higher level of health and wellness. And so here in the Savvy team, we're all about providing action plans and solutions to really help you get the job done and to really progress to that higher level of wellness. And that's why we want to give you bite-sized chunks in order to help you grow and move and reach your highest potential. And so what we wanted to be able to do on this particular weekly wrap and Q&A session is cover some of the questions that have come in through the sessions through the week, and other sessions, other questions that relate to a topic that we may have covered or whatever, and have a little bit more time to digest it and point you towards additional information. So if you jump on live, do give me a wave, and if you do have a question, please do ask it as well. Now, if you want to be kept up to date with what's going on with the Healthy Savvy Life show, please just message the word bites to us and we can keep you on the show notifications. But of course, any questions, do please just ask. All right. I think we're good to go now. So, you ever have one of those times when there's some mishaps that go on, like you're just about to go live, and you manage to spill a glass of water over your computer equipment? You know, this is why you don't keep drinks and everything next to your computer equipment, right? You'd put it in a bottle rather than a glass. But anyway, we're here to answer your questions. Lots of good stuff that has come in actually through the week. So great to have you with us. So just to give you a little bit of a wrap for the week and what we've covered, if you happen to be just joining us and you didn't join the shows through the week, this is what we want to consider the weekly wrap session, where we sort of go through any additional information that needed to be clarified through the week or answer your questions. So really, if you have any questions, do hit us up. But what do we mean by, daily bites to help you be savvy? And what do we mean by be savvy? Well, savvy, we believe, is astute, sharp, perceptive, and informed. And that's what we want you to be, especially regarding your health and well-being. So what do we cover in this week's sessions? We dealt with 8 ways to improve your digestion, 3 little-known triggers for weight gain, type 2 diabetes, you can reverse it, and how to boost your energy, and 6 potential causes of fatigue. So they're all the sessions that we dealt with throughout the show this particular week. So do you have any questions about that? Any questions that relate to those particular topics, or something else that's sort of related? I'm going to go through a few questions, and there are some additional ones that Linda has found from the community just earlier. So I'll sort of read through those and try to digest them on the fly, but I haven't pre-thought about those and what sort of information to direct you towards. So we'll see how we go. All right. A drink of water and a sip of coffee. I'm brave, aren't I? Here I have I spilt water and I dare to have a coffee here. Anyway, hopefully the mouse will start working again. All right, so first question that we have, and this is related to the fact that we talked about type 2 diabetes. Now, so the question came in from Sharon here, saying, okay, regarding carbs, I thought you need to eat carb foods regularly to keep your energy levels stable. Aren't carbohydrate foods necessary? Well, it depends on what you talk about. Great question, Sharon, and there's a blog post that I'd like to direct everyone's attention to. So when we think about carbohydrates, I'll send you over to the blog, and it's got an additional link to an article by a registered dietitian who, realized that the typical advice that she was giving diabetics was just crazy. And so she's gone more low carb, paleo and everything. And, her question was, why don't we tell diabetics the truth? And so I give you a little bit of a synopsis of that. So understanding everything that we cover on this show, I'm not a medical doctor and don't want to be. I'm very grateful for the doctors out there and the work that they do, especially the research doctors that are at the forefront of really making changes in our philosophy, and they're the ones that I tend to follow, not the ones promoting the same information. So, this is a typical thing that you need carbs, and if you're diabetic, you need to eat carbs regularly in order to keep your blood sugar level. And you have to balance it against your medication and your insulin and all that sort of thing if you're type 1 diabetic, of course. So anyway, so this is important for everyone. So it's not just if you're diabetic. So the question is, are carbohydrates necessary? So regarding carbs, I thought you need to eat carb foods to keep your energy level stable. Aren't carbohydrate foods necessary? So, and I don't believe that was that Sharon is actually a type 2 diabetic. It was just general question. So obviously, if you're on medication, you have to speak with your doctor. But the forward-thinking doctors agree that since type 2 diabetes is a carbohydrate toxicity, we need to lower that. Okay, it's different to type 1. So it's a different situation to type 1. And so yet it's been sort of treated in many of the same philosophy. So anyway, so this is for everybody. If you're healthy and you suffer from unstable blood sugar levels and energy drops and cravings after, or foggy thinking 2 hours after a meal, wanting to sleep, straight after you've had lunch, not being able to get through your afternoon because you just got no energy and you need a hit of caffeine and sugar or something to lift you up. They're all symptoms of imbalance in your metabolism, your blood glucose, your glucose metabolism, I should say. So, all right. We have things called essential amino acids that come from proteins. So they're deemed as essential because you need to get them in your diet they must be in your diet because your body can't manufacture them. So they're essential. We have essential fatty acids. They must be obtained in the diet because your body can't manufacture them. So essential amino acids come from protein foods. Essential fatty acids come from fat foods. There are no essential carbohydrates. There are no essential carbohydrates. So what does that tell us? So we could say, well, the essential carbohydrate is glucose because glucose is needed by the brain. It's needed in certain functions. Well, hang on. The definition of essential is that the body cannot produce it. The body can produce its own glucose on demand. So therefore, there are zero. How much theoretically carbohydrates do we actually need to survive and thrive? That is actually zero. And many of the information shows that there was originally there was a certain belief at how much sugar we should be consuming, and we shouldn't go above a certain load of actual added sugar. And according to the World Health Organization, I believe that's about 20 grams, and most of the population exceeds that by more than double. So as a population, we're just eating too many carbs, too much sugar. So of course, and too many grain foods. So again, the dietary advice is agricultural based. It says we need something like 7 to 11 serves of grains every day. Well, that causes people a lot of problems. So strictly speaking, all vegetables, all fruits, all tubers, all of your roasted vegetables, strictly speaking, they're all carbohydrates. If you have a bit of broccoli, it's a carbohydrate. If you have some lettuce, it's a carbohydrate. So when we're talking about carbohydrates, we're not talking about those nutrient-dense, real whole foods. We're actually talking about the processed foods, the added sugars, too much fruit, too much of the sweeteners, too many grains and everything. So I don't want to demonize all carbs, but we want to get the ones that are the most nutrient dense and will provide us with vitality, not the ones that are just empty calories. Okay, so that's the thing. We actually most people are suffering from carbohydrate toxicity. We covered that in that particular earlier show. So now, obviously, this is the same thing. If you're pre-diabetic, you need to be you would want to be really being careful with your carbohydrate intake so you don't end up on medication. And I believe that I was probably even in my 20s headed down the path of diabetes. I had blood sugar imbalance problems. I was told to eat regularly, eat at least 6 to 8 meals a day of complex carbohydrates, and I was doing that, and I was constantly hungry. My up and down, up and down. I would get headaches if I had to skip a snack. I was, I even remember going to a friend's place, and they served up a great meal, lots of salad, lots of chicken and roast beef and all that sort of thing, and they didn't have any bread. And I remember feeling, oh, I don't know how I'm going to go here. I need those carbs. It was both a mental program and it was a physiological program. And so actually what solved my blood sugar ups and downs was eliminating those things and learning to become metabolically flexible, learning to be fat adapted, and to be able to have my body able to burn fat for fuel. That's what made the biggest difference. So that's what we're encouraging you to do. So I think there was a similar question. I don't want to go harp on that too much, but I think Linda had a similar question on that. Okay, so this is somebody who had said my husband has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, eating lots of sweets and ice creams and soft drinks, and I've tried to get him to swap to other carbohydrate sources like dried fruit and diet soda and all this sort of thing because he's been diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. He's struggling with erratic insulin levels at work, and after listening to the talk, I wondered if there was something natural he could do to support his body. Well, certainly a nutritional program does help people with balance. Trace minerals, that's what we covered. Trace minerals really help, and other things like cinnamon and chromium help with balance. But there's just no solution that you have to eliminate the carbs. So it's sort of like saying I'm being poisoned. Is there a solution for the poison? Well, there are some antidotes, but it's really good to remove the poison. And so, as we shared in that particular session, and one of the doctors, I can't remember, Sally, anyway, she said that it's really type 2 diabetes is a carbohydrate toxicity. So if we think of it as a carbohydrate toxicity, there isn't a solution. The medication won't fix the toxicity. Ending up needing insulin won't fix the toxicity because it's a carbohydrate toxicity. So, here in the Savvy team, we're big on optimizing the body's detox pathways to help toxins leave the body. But we also assert that let's not put the toxins in to make your body able to cope. Well, if we assert that diabetes is a carbohydrate toxicity as well, that we're getting too much of this, then medication and everything doesn't solve the problem because we're still putting the toxic element into our body. I hope that makes a bit of sense. And as Dr. Jason Fung covered in that segment that I shared, that in medicine we're not even treating, not we, but the medical profession isn't, when they focus on drugs and that to lower blood glucose levels, they're actually still treating the symptom. And that's not me speaking. That was experts there. I wanted to share with you because it is a bit of a struggle for many people with type 2 diabetes. So anyway, there we go. Hopefully that helps. But we have a number of different programs. If you are struggling with getting the diet right and losing weight and everything, which is all implicated in type 2 diabetes, then we have some programs that can really help with that. So, and it's the support. A lot of the times sticking with something and sticking with dietary changes is just having the support around you. All right. So that was that particular question. Let's move on to this one that came in as well. This is a good one. So I want to lose weight before I have a baby. I've also had concerns about my hormones and fertility. Could the EDCs you were talking about, the endocrine disrupting chemicals, be messing up my hormones as well as my weight balance? Well, indeed, it could be. That was what we were actually. That was really the premise of what we were discussing in that particular session. So, if I can just find find some of that information for you to go over that. I guess before I do, I guess the answer to that is absolutely. Endocrine disrupting chemical exposure could be messing up fertility, could be messing up your hormones. That's been identified as an absolute truth from the World Health Organization. Since many of these chemicals have also been identified as obesogens, directly able to trigger obesity and mess with the hormones that regulate weight as well, then yes, indeed. So, and that sort of makes me, I guess, think about, the fact that we've seen people that we've had community members that, for example, have been unable to fall pregnant by natural means, had even failed at IVF treatments, have focused on cleaning up their life, really detoxifying, eliminating exposure to chemicals, doing detoxes, looking after their bowel, and just focused on their health. They just said, all right, I'm going to focus on me for a while, and then fell pregnant later in life without trying, so to speak, naturally. So, for example, had the first child on IVF and then fell pregnant naturally 10 years later. So that just technically doesn't happen. You don't get better hormones and healthier in the long unless you're consciously doing something to clean yourself up. So obviously that's anecdotal information, anecdotal evidence there of different community members, but that does routinely happen. And so let's refer to Dr. Kate Shanahan, author of Deep Nutrition, where she really delves into this, and that her research has uncovered that many people, many communities, many cultures really believe that when a young couple gets married and everything, it's not all honeymoon and party. It's actually now you guys are both on a strict regimen of cleaning yourself up because it's likely that you will have children soon, and to give the next generation its best chance at a healthy life, the parents need to be cleaned up. Yes, especially the mum, but also dad. Okay, also dad. So it's sad that with your first child, ladies, that a lot of toxicity is injected into the child. In fact, sometimes the second child can be healthier than the first because the first child got a dose of all of your toxins from breastfeeding and also, just through the general transfer of toxins through the umbilical cord. And, the Environmental Working Group has proven that babies, even unborn babies, by testing umbilical cord blood, have hundreds of toxic chemicals in them already. And so the more you can spend, and here's the thing, 3 weeks of focusing on detoxing your body, and many of these non-persistent chemicals have decreased, like by 80%. So it doesn't even take that long. But I assert, we believe that much of the fertility issues that people are facing is because they just don't spend any time looking after themselves and cleaning themselves up before having their child. And we've seen that with many mums in the community that have had have seen the difference in the behavior of different children. Like they've had their first child, for example, even sometimes 3 children before they started working within the community and understanding about health principles and detox and eliminating chemical exposure, and they found that their last child or their last children actually were better behaved, more easy to deal with. The pregnancies were smoother and all that sort of thing. So absolutely, the question was, would it be wise? Would it help my fertility and my hormones, and also help me lose weight if I really focused on detoxing and kicked the chemicals? That would be a resounding yes. All right, so this next one, I want to make changes. Let me just bring it up for you here. If you have any questions, if you're jumping on live, do give us a wave and hit us up with the questions as well. Can really make a difference in your life if you understand some of this underlying information. So this one, great question in here from Kate. I want to make changes and follow the Eat Savvy diet and probably do the detox, but I'm so busy I can't imagine having to cook different meals for the family. What are the core things that I need to focus on? Okay, great question. So the core things, first of all, the core things, it doesn't need to be super difficult. So one of the things that we focus on in the Eat Savvy approach, in essence, is that we're looking for ways to decrease the toxin exposure, by eating more whole foods, moving away from chemicals and all that thing, even foods that may be toxin from a natural point of view. So things that are allergens and difficult. So hi to those that have joined on Instagram. And we need to increase the micronutrient density. So, when we're really looking at that, so the question was, how do I make changes? How do I have to cook different foods for the family? Well, you don't. So the principal changes that make a huge difference. So here's the dietary changes. If we look at the Pareto principle. So the Pareto principle says that, the 80-20 rule. So sometimes there's just a few simple changes, like 20%, that will give you 80% of the benefit. And so what would be the Pareto principle dietary changes that would have the biggest impact? What would they be? It would be getting rid of the sugars of all kinds. Okay, so we've just covered that. Like, that helps everybody. We dealt with that regarding type 2 diabetes, but this helps everyone because we're eating far too many added sugars, and that's fairly well documented. Get rid of all grains now, or at least dramatically reduce them, so you can still have things like a little bit of basmati rice, for example, and millet, hulled millet. These are still some grains that I still consume from time to time. But generally, what helped me to get on top of my blood sugar imbalance issues was eliminating the grains. These are also very inflammatory. They can irritate the gut lining, all that sort of thing. So get rid of sugars, get rid of grains, and get rid of the inflammatory vegetable oils. So if you really think about this, what's one simple way that we could do all of that almost in one fell swoop? Get rid of processed foods, because processed foods, usually, you have a look on the label, it will have added sugar, it will be based on grains, and it will have something like hydrogenated vegetable oil or something like that, some sort of inflammatory vegetable oil. So you get rid of packaged foods and you've eliminated that. So if you focus on a whole food diet, then you will really, you'll really be eliminating many of the biggest issues. So now back to that question of what will make the biggest difference. And I'm busy. How do I cook different meals for the family? Well, you don't need to cook different meals for the family. You may have to tweak things up. A lot of the times we're used to cooking a meal, and it's a dish, that all goes into the one dish or whatever. Whereas if you think of pieces, in actual fact, I don't have it here. I might have it here. I think it's this one, the Woolworths magazine. If you happen to be here in the Australian region, the Woolworths magazine had some great examples. No, I might take a picture of that and share it a bit later on. But they just showed that, for example, if you're putting together salads, you can choose a protein, choose a green, choose some other vegetables, choose some flavorings, choose some condiments and everything. And you build the meal based on all of that. And so, you can do that as well. If you're a busy mama, you're a busy dad, if you're a busy family, and you're trying to change what you eat, you can make things differently. So we've been sharing, if you happen to be a member of our community, we've got some suggestions in there because we have many people on detox and a rapid fat loss protocol right now. And so we've been sharing examples of how to make a meal appropriate for the rapid fat loss protocol, but also build it for the family. So one great example of is that like I make up a Mexi mince, so a mince, the Mexican type of mince, and I like that because I hide the Mexican flavorings. I hide some of the nasty bits, like hide liver and hide uh, uh, kidney, beef kidney, and everything, all minced up in the mince. And so those offal. The offal, the liver and those bits, the nasty bits, as I like to call them, they're actually the original superfood if we really think about that. And they're things that have been left from the modern diet. And Dr. Kate Shanahan in Deep Nutrition really delves into this. So, and also if you've ever followed the Weston Price information, like they focus a lot on that as well. Really getting a lot of these nutrient dense foods. So anyway, so what can you do? Mexi bowl. So you could have the mince along with, if you're doing the rapid fat loss protocol, for example, you could have the mince along with a big leafy salad, and then your family could have on the side roasted sweet potatoes and cheese on top, for example, and then they're happy. You could have, or if you're not doing something like cheese, you could have a guacamole, a big bowl of guacamole with that as well. You might even be able to have, if you're just doing the detox and really trying to cut carbohydrates, you could have the big bowl of salad, the Mexi mince, and guacamole on the top. So that's an example how you can build out other things that the family will like, and more carbohydrates if there are heavy exercises in your family, more of those carbohydrates, etc. Meals can be the same, and you can build from there. So just like if you like a curry. So just the other day I made a curry sauce to go on fish and vegetables. So that's because I like a curry, and I do. This is a Thai curry, and I really like, and had lots of kaffir lime leaves. So I was like, what do I do here? Made a curry sauce to go on fish and vegetables. Now, if you needed some grains or whatever, then you could add in some rice on the side still. Rice is one of the grains that is not too bad, but we do see people have tremendous trouble with wheat and those sorts of things. So, you can build meals, and we'll be sharing as many examples as we can to show you that. If you haven't already followed us on our recipe account on Instagram, Healthy Savvy Life, where we put that together specifically for sharing recipe ideas with the community. So you might want to check that out. All right. So the next question in here was, I did a detox recently and I felt sick, and so I stopped. But my friend said that that's quite a normal reaction when following a natural healing method. So what's your take on this, and can I avoid getting sick when detoxing? All right. Well, yes and no. Yes, it is a fairly normal reaction. We call that a healing crisis. You could call it Herxheimer's reaction, or the die-off that happens from bacteria and parasites and all that sort of thing. So, when you change your diet even, and when you start doing a detox, especially if it's a parasite purge as well, and then, or even when you kick the sugar out, then much of the bacteria that you've been feeding with that and the yeasts and everything will start to die off. And yes, you can have not a nice reaction. But usually if you're following, I'm not sure what sort of detox that Lydia was following there, because usually if you're following, like, for example, our detox protocol, then we can just tweak some of the other supplements to help with that. So, for example, many people who are struggling with the way they feel when doing a detox, their liver is becoming a bit overloaded, or their bowels aren't moving properly. So That's why we assert you need to optimize the body's detoxification pathways. So, and then also the skin can be blocked. The skin is a natural detox pathway. So sometimes people can have a headache from a detox, and we encourage them to go and do a dry skin brush, like, you know, one of those natural bristle brushes, and give yourself a really dry skin, good skin brush. And if you have access to a sauna, jump in a sauna, and then the headache's gone because the toxins were coming out, but your other supportive detoxification pathways were blocked. So it depends on, you know, if the detox protocol or whatever was not holistic in nature. I'm not sure whether Lydia was following our protocol and working with a wellness guide, but there are solutions there for that. But yes, it's perfectly normal. So stopping is one way, but then, you know, what got you into it will get you out of it. So stopping the detox process because you're not feeling well is leaving the toxins in you. So the fact that you're feeling a little bit off means it's working. They're being brought out of the cellular structures and brought into the bloodstream and moved around the lymph and everything. So we've got to follow through with that process. So definitely keep going. Sometimes you can back off if you're taking supplements and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's better just to really go for it and just rest more, work with your body. If you're feeling tired, have a sleep, etc. So it is best to just keep going. Rarely is it because many people say, oh, I must be allergic to these. Rarely is that the issue. It's usually a healing crisis, usually a Herxheimer's reaction. And so we'd ask a whole bunch of questions. Have you been drinking enough water? No. Okay. So what are you putting on your skin? Are you putting toxic things on your skin? Are you using soaps? Are you blocking your skin with certain creams that don't allow your skin to breathe? Because that's one way that the toxins come out. You know, are you walking? Because your lymphatic system needs movement in order to move the toxins around and help your body to eliminate that. So there's a number of different things there, but don't give up. We like to say it's better out than in. So keep with the detox there. All right, let me just see. Let me just see whether there's anything else in here. Okay, so yeah, look, this is a sad one about the Diabetic Association. My daughter's a type 2 diabetic. She's followed the Diabetic Association diabetes recommendations. She seems to be getting worse. She's always craving sweets, has craved sweets her whole life. She eats regular snacks, and throughout the day, she's lowered her fat intake as per the recommendations, and she's not getting any better. Her PMT is now off the charts, and she's miserable. Look, that is a big challenge. Okay, so reducing fat will also make you more hungry, and so that's it's hard to argue that is the right advice, to be honest. But again, you know, we're not medical practitioners, and you have to work with a doctor if you have a medical condition. But that's why we say that it's really important for you to be educated and get yourself educated. So I'll just go to our website and share the, see whether I can find the article that I was encouraging you to look at. Okay. We might have to link it up. Here we go. Yep. So I would suggest that we'll link this up in the comments a bit later on. But why aren't diabetics being told the truth? And the challenge that we were asserting here, following along with this article, is that on the, for example, the Diabetic Living magazine, there's a whole bunch of sweet foods. And really, diabetes is a carbohydrate toxicity. So we need to make that changes. So Diana Rogers here was an example of, we wanted to share this with the community, and some of the, it was Dr. Sarah Holberg. She was the one that I shared earlier this week that says that it is a carbohydrate toxicity. So this particular post is what I would encourage everyone to look at, because this is where we're curating things and we'll be updating things, information for people who have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So, rather than putting more and more posts on there, we want to be able to update this particular post for you. So there's already a couple of videos, and we have additional things that we've covered in the show, in the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show before we started this Healthy, Savvy Life show as well. So let's just go back and take a little look at that particular one. I would encourage you to read her blog post, Diana Rogers, here at the moment. We might put more information on that. But as she said there, I'm appalled constantly at the misinformation we nutrition experts are telling folks with diabetes. It's all over the place. The everything in moderation mantra and how we need to eat less meat, eat less fat, and eat more whole grains. It's a pervasive theme drilled into young dietitians and spread to the public through our dietary guidelines. This information is making people sick. So that is a registered dietitian who has broken free from the typical guidelines. And please be aware, look, we are not dietitians, we are not doctors here. We're just interested, passionate community members sharing what's worked for our community. Now, but it's really important that you're aware of this. I was talking with somebody this week off the topic. Sorry to segue. I was talking with somebody about heart disease this week, and they said they were going along to this program and the learning all of the typical things. And then they raised to it was all the typical stuff: eat less saturated fat, get more exercise, lower your blood pressure, all that sort of thing, which is all good, all really, really important things. But he approached the educator and said, what about some of the things like antioxidants and turmeric and magnesium and vitamin K2 and hawthorn berry and these sorts of things that are good for the cardiovascular system? And the doctor doing the class lit up and said, absolutely, definitely keep doing those things if you've been doing them. And he found out that she can't teach those things in that class. But because he raised it, they could have a conversation. So please be aware of that. Please be aware that the way our system is built, it's possible that your doctor, your dietitian, etc., can't, even if they're following a protocol themselves, the system is built where they can't recommend even what they're doing unless it's established medical protocol. Okay, so please give them the benefit of the doubt there, that they're working within a system and they can't even share with you their own personal things that they do for their health if it's not established protocol. Okay, so there are really some absolutely fabulous practitioners out there that are breaking new ground and making changes within the establishment, but you've got to work with that. All right, so it looks like Linda has shared that article in the comments about this particular article on the blog. So this is on our blog here. All right, so yes, and so then you can see the whole video with Dr. Sarah Hallberg, and her her assertion is that curing diabetes starts with ignoring the guidelines. So that's her saying it. So you can listen to that. You can listen to a more of a detailed explanation from Dr. Jason Fung on how to reverse type 2 diabetes. And then you can really dig into why excess carbs and sugar are really causing us tremendous problems in these additional articles. One from an ABC Catalyst program and one and heaps of information. We have just loaded up a heap of information for you there. Okay, so it was probably a more of an explanation than you were ready for, but there you have it. We're really passionate about helping people make changes because we understand that it can be difficult. If you were to Google, this is one of the problems too. And there's a lot of stuff going out there about the control and Google's being controlled and Facebook's being controlled and all that sort of thing. Well, I won't even go there. But if you were to Google type 2 diabetes recommendations, chances are the first 10 pages, who goes past the first page or two of Google nowadays when you search? Pretty much the first 10 pages are all repeating the same advice. That's what I've seen. Test it. Test it. You'll probably find the same thing over and over again for the first 10 pages. Same medical stuff, eat regular carbohydrate, work with your doctor, get on the medication, etc., etc. So just test it. Really do have a look at that. And that's why I say we congratulate the forward-thinking medical doctors who have broken free from the typical paradigm and are going, hang on, this isn't working. Something's got to change, and we've got to reduce carbohydrate intake in diabetics. All right. Regarding the weight gain session that we did, the 3 little known triggers for weight gain, I'm interested in using the Eat Savvy diet, but I need some help with meal planning. Oh, this is similar. I'm not at all creative. What do you suggest to help point me in the right direction? Well, if you're already a member of our community, we're sharing things in some of our private groups. So, but for the rest of you, the best thing that you can do is here on the Savvy Team Facebook page. We share things from now and again. But I would come on over, if you're on Instagram, go on over to Healthy Savvy Life. Healthy Savvy Kitchen, to our Healthy Savvy Kitchen Instagram account, where we put this together to start to build up recipes and healthy food ideas for people inside our community and for everyone as well. So that will be a helpful thing. The challenge is that when I say, when we look at the Eat Savvy approach and we say, who else could you follow? Well, people say, well, some of your recipes are the same as paleo. Well, yes, but, and you could look for paleo recipes and they could be very good, but paleo are generally against dairy, and we're not against dairy. Paleo also included just if it's a whole food and everything, and yet many nightshade vegetables are problematic for people, so we tend to avoid those. So technically, Eat Savvy diet's not paleo, but paleo fits within that, yes. Then people say, well, you could follow ketogenic recipes. Well, yes, but clean keto recipes if you're going to do that, please, because the ketogenic diet basically means a high-fat, very low carbohydrate, moderate protein diet. And there's lots of different not-so-healthy ways of getting your fat intake up. So we can't say look for keto recipes and have that be successful for you. Anti-inflammatory, gut healing protocols, all of those aren't the same. So really the Eat Savvy approach has been a culmination of our 30 years of working in this, looking at all the dietary philosophies and trying to find the common areas that will work for most people. So I talk about this in other episodes that we've done, other shows, about the blind man and the elephant analogy, that we do believe that all of these dietary philosophies are looking at things and finding one aspect that is so true, but we need to look at the commonalities of these things. So what is working? Even if we were to look at, okay, let's look for what's the difference between let's look at carnivore and veganism, for example. Well, let's just actually go whole food, plant-based vegan, get rid of the grains. Both of those philosophies are opposed, but both of them are asserting we need to look for the most nutrient-dense foods. Both of them, what's the similarity of those two? They're saying we need to focus on nutrient-dense foods. So, and that's what we agree. So we're in the Savvy Team, we're looking to cut through the confusion and provide you with the simplest way forward to maximize the health of, your health and that of your families. So it's hard for me to recommend anyone to follow, but there's some ideas. You can look for paleo recipes. You can look for ketogenic recipes. You can look for whole food recipes. You can search those sorts of things, but definitely follow Healthy Savvy Life, because what Healthy Savvy Kitchen. This is Healthy Savvy Life. You definitely want to follow this, but Healthy Savvy Kitchen on Instagram, because what we're looking to do is explain that along the way. It's not just recipe ideas, but it's helping to educate you on if there's a certain recipe that we've shared, why do we eliminate this ingredient? Why would we suggest changing it to this? So it will help to educate you, give you food ideas and educate you along the way. All right, so Linda's just put in another one here. Might be able to bring this up here. So I came across your post by accident and listened to the 3 little known triggers talk and was intrigued because I'm pretty sure that I have all of the underlying causes of weight gain. They're all issues for me. How do I know what companies are safe and what solutions do you suggest? Okay, well, it's probably beyond the scope of this particular session to really go into that. And so, because it is difficult, it's a difficult topic because there's a lot of what's called greenwashing that goes on in the natural product industry. Because there's not a lot of regulations around the marketing terms of natural, organic, herbal, and all that sort of thing. And so they're more marketing terms than reality. So it's tricky for consumers. There are some core things that people are starting to become really know about: the propylene glycol, sodium lauryl sulfate, polyethylene glycols, ethoxylates, parabens, BPA, all of these sorts of things. They're all important to eliminate, but you really have to work with brands that offer long-term safety. And so reach out to us or your Savvy Team Wellness Guide, and we can share with you some of the options that we personally use and recommend. I think that might be it. All right. Well, congratulations on joining the Healthy Savvy Life Q&A, a weekly wrap. What our intention is with these shows is to, through the week, deal with topics. They might be more lengthy discussion topics. They might be short sometimes, but hints and tips that you can implement to really make, really take your health to the next level. And then this is the chance on the weekly wrap show to share any other information that came up that we missed sharing, or answer questions as we've done here that have come in through the week. So hope you find that valuable. All right, I think that's about it. That's a wrap for the weekly wrap. I think that's it by the looks of it. Yeah, so congratulations for being with us. Great to have you on board. And if you do have any further questions, please feel free to ask. Just check one more time whether there's anything coming in here. No? All right. Well, that's it from me for this weekly wrap session, and we look forward to catching up with you again in the future. So all the best. Corey Sievers here, encouraging you to be savvy.